Hello pipe community, Barepipe here. It's time for my next pipe project. And for this project, I have chosen this pipe. This is a Butz Choquin, I'm going to call it a cuddy shape, quite a big chunky pipe. And as always, before I get into the pipe, I want to tell you a bit about the company. Butz Choquin, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a French company, and I'm not very good at French, so my pronunciation is probably wrong. So apologies for that. It's a company that started in the 1840s, so very old. It started as a Choquin tobacconist in Metz, in France. And Choquin was quite a successful tobacconist. He grew quite quickly, got a few employees, amongst others, one gentleman with a surname called Butz. And Butz managed to fall in love with the proprietor's daughter, and he ended up marrying her. So the end result of this partnership with Choquin's daughter was that Butz became a partner in the business as well. Now in 1858, they bring out the Choquin pipe. And it was a bit of an odd-looking duck. But it put them on the map and became a very famous pipe. And it's a highly collectible pipe today if you manage to find an original. There's not a lot of the originals around. What it was almost like a bent churchwarden style pipe. Very long stem. It had a briar bowl, was a sitter, it had a flat bottom. And then it had a very long stem, but the stem was made out of the shank of an albatross feather. So it was this white bone-like material, and then it had a bit at the back end of that, and some silver rings that was combining and connecting these pieces together. So very finely made, very elegant pipe. But by today's kind of aesthetic standards, probably would have been a little odd looking because of the variety of different materials that made up this pipe. But it was enough to put them on the map as a pipe maker. They produced pipes locally for the French market out of Metz for the longest time. In fact, it stayed a family business and a family concern until 1951. They only had 10 ranges of pipes that they were producing, so fairly small in the variety, and only locally in France. In 1951, they got bought out by a company called Barepipe, which was a larger pipe manufacturer, and they moved production to the famous St. Claude, the birthplace of the Briar. They also decided to take the brand international. So in 1960, they start exporting BCs through the world, eventually also to the US. I think it was somewhere around the 1990s only that Butz Choquin made its way across the pond to North America. They expanded the range of pipes offered. They went from 10 to 70, so they really kind of built the brand into the brand that is internationally known today. Went from a local pipe made in Metz for the local French market to an international brand. And the pipes we see today on the market is primarily from that era, post-1960 pipes. Now in 2002, the company changed hands again, and a local guy from St. Claude called Fabien Gouchon bought the company in 2002 and is currently the owner and is working at expanding the brand and building it, which I think is great because it's somebody who's made an investment in the future of pipe tobacco and pipe smoking and who's willing to take a risk on building a brand. Now, it's a storied brand, goes back a long time, and that makes it an interesting brand to get to know. Now, Butz Choquin also did a lot of meerschaum pipes. And if you do an online search today, you will still see that there's a fair amount of meerschaum pipes under the BC brand. What makes this particular pipe interesting is the fact that it has both. It's a briar pipe with a meerschaum lining. Now, I should probably tell you a little bit about meerschaum in case you don't know what that is. Meerschaum is a material that has been used as a pipe smoking vessel for longer than briar goes back a very, very long time, in fact. It's a mineral deposit that is mined primarily in Turkey, and it is a very soft white stone. It's easily carvable because it's so soft, and it's easily shaped. It's very porous, and for that reason is also very good for smoking tobacco. Now, the classic meerschaum pipe would be a stone block of meerschaum that is carved by a master carver in Turkey with some kind of classical figure, a head or a torso or something. Gets packaged into a case because, of course, meerschaum will absorb colors from anything that touches it because it's a highly absorbent stone. Now, what happens is when you smoke a meerschaum pipe, over time, the oils from the tobacco and the oils from the person's skin that's holding the pipe will eventually start to discolor the pure white meerschaum into this rich, beautiful yellowish golden brown color. And as the carving in the areas where the stone's thinner will start discoloring first, the thicker areas will go later. So it actually starts giving definition to the carving over time. And this is a highly sought after finish. Now, there are cheaper forms of meerschaum around, and typically the meerschaum that you will find inside a meerschaum lined briar bowl would be this cheaper form. And what they do is they will take the dust from the meerschaum carvings, they will put a binder with it, and they will press it into blocks and then carve that. And this is a cheaper, less desirable form of meerschaum. It doesn't color as richly and as nicely as a pure, clean meerschaum block would do, but it still gives a fairly good smoking quality. And the smoking qualities that you get from meerschaum that is very desirable is the fact that it gives a dry smoke because it absorbs the oils so quickly. And secondly, gives you a very pure taste because of the fact that it doesn't impart any taste to the tobacco. So both of those things makes it highly desirable. So that's the reason why for a while it was very popular to line bowls with meerschaum. Now, this meerschaum would be reconstituted meerschaum. It's not an original meerschaum block that's been carved out because that's quite rare and expensive. And this was just a bit of a gimmick to try and give people the experience of a meerschaum pipe within a briar bowl, kind of bringing the two worlds together, giving you the purity of the taste of the meerschaum, but with the convenience of a briar, without the more complicated aspects of wanting to get that aging and the patina that comes with a beautiful meerschaum carved pipe. Now, this makes this pipe a little more complicated to restore. And the reason I chose this pipe for this episode is two things. One is I wanted to figure out how to deal with a meerschaum lining. I've never done it before. I've never worked with meerschaum before. So this is new to me, and I'm still doing some research on it. I don't have all the answers yet about exactly how I'm going to go about cleaning this bowl. What I do know is that you can't just stick this thing in alcohol like you would normally do, because you could actually ruin the meerschaum. The other thing that this pipe has, which is a problem, is the fact that the stem is incredibly loose. But what's odd about it is you turn it a little bit, it actually tightens up, except that it's out of alignment. That tells me that the stummel is not perfectly round, or potentially that the stem is not perfectly round. What I suspect has happened is that this was a loose-fitting stem. Somebody tried to pack it out with a bit of wax in here, and it's become a little bit lopsided. It's not perfectly round anymore. So probably have to clean this out. Probably have to sort out this stem, and I'll show you how I get this to tighten up nicely within the stummel. So those are the two things I'm going to show you about this pipe in the next few episodes. But before I sign off, just want to tell you a little bit more about this particular pipe. This is a Butz Choquin Supermate. Dating this pipe is very difficult because there's not a lot of information about BCs online. What I do know, it's definitely post-1960s. It was a range of pipes that is still made today. So for all I know, this pipe could be 2 years old, or it could be 20 years old, or 40 years old. I have no idea. But the Supermate line is an interesting line of pipes because of the fact that it was almost a natural finish. They didn't put any stain on these pipes, and they still don't. You can buy a Supermate today on smokingpipes.com or wherever you buy your pipes. And their claim to fame is that it's a natural briar that has just been lightly waxed. So it's really the natural tobacco or the natural briar look that you get. So that's something to consider when I restore this pipe. I want to stay true to that intent. So I will probably not be staining this pipe. I may just be taking it back to a natural finish and leaving it as an unfinished pipe potentially, which could be interesting. So that's the BC. That's my next project. I'm not going to go through every single step of the restoration. I'm going to call it 2 vignettes. One is going to be cleaning the meerschaum. The other one is going to be dealing with the stem. So, and then I'll show you what the pipe looks like when it's finished. There is a third element of this thing that I haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet. And that is that the previous owner of this pipe tried to fix the top of the rim and it's made a bit of a mess of it. And one of the biggest problems is they've actually sanded down the meerschaum at about a 45-degree angle. And for me to straighten it back out, I'm probably going to have to take probably 3 millimeters off this pipe, which is quite a lot, maybe 1/8 of an inch that I need to take down. And I'm not sure I want to do that. I got to think a bit about it because this is a very tall bowl. It can probably handle it, but I got to think a bit about whether that is going to change the shape of this pipe too much and whether it's going to ruin it. Maybe I will just have to live with that angled meerschaum at the top, which really bugs me. And it's just too bad that it was done that way. We'll see. We'll see what I'm going to do. I don't know yet. But follow along and let's see where this takes us. Okay, let's try again.